Hey, my name is Meredith Johnson, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on the effects of animal abuse. This is my presentational aide, Ozzy. He is my roommate's cat. She rescued him from an abusive situation. Uh, all right. Did you know that every 60 seconds an animal gets abused? Animal abuse has tremendous consequences for animals and people, and it's a significant detriment to overall animal welfare. By being informed about this extreme issue and how big of a problem it is, you can learn essential information and learn about the realities of animal abuse. As being a community member, it is important that I am educated and I understand the signs and consequences of animal abuse so I can take preventive action to prevent this from happening. I will first talk about the lasting impacts on mental health. Then I'll discuss animal abuse leading to greater crimes down the road. And finally, I'll talk about the significant detriment to overall animal welfare. Now let's look into the several impacts on mental health caused by animal abuse. Uh, Animal abuse doesn't only affect animals, it also affects the well being of individuals who witness the crime or pursue it. I want to start by talking about the strong link between animal abuse and mental health. In 2007, an article issued Professional Psychology Research and Practice, Karen D. Schaefer, a licensed psychology and other researchers, surveyed a group of therapists with mental illness and animal abuse, has been seeing in a lot of these cases, and they've been servicing more in clinical work. These authors did a survey, and there was a strong link between animal abuse and mental health status. If there is early attention to this issue, it might be a possibility to disrupt the cycle of violence. Now let's talk about what the long-lasting effects on mental health are. In 2007, an article issued by Journal of Emotional Abuse, Karen D. Schaefer, a licensed psychologist, states, similar to the impact of other forms of abuse, comparable short-term and long-term effects could exist for both the human and non-human survivors of animals. There are many long-term effects that come with animal abuse, which are substance abuse, depression, anxiety, guilt and shame, trauma, and post-traumatic stress, and the list goes on. Witnessing or pursuing this crime is extremely detrimental on both ends, not just the animals. Now, moving on from the effects of mental health from animal abuse, I'm now going to talk about animal abuse leading to greater crimes down the road. It may surprise you to learn that the primary cause of domestic violence usually starts from animal abuse. According to the article published by the MDPI in 2022, written by Daniel Mota Rojas, specialist in animal behavior and neuropsychology, says that generally speaking, compared to nonviolent criminals, violent criminals have a higher history of animal mistreatment at some point in their lives. Most violent crimes start with animal abuse. People who do this crime like to feel power and control. That's why they do it to animals, because they're helpless and they can't protect themselves. The correlation between animal abuse and domestic violence or other dangerous crimes is very overwhelming. According to Alexander Hubenya, writer with a degree in English literature and linguistics, whose sole purpose is to do research work, stated in 2020 article issued by Petpedia, approximately 71% of people who are reported for domestic violence also abuse their pets. This data is showing a very clear correlation between animal abuse and violence later down the road. These people have unmanaged emotions, they have ignorance about the proper care of humaneness of the animals, and they have retaliation towards animals, and they just like enjoying suffering and animals being in pain. It's very important to raise awareness about the consequences of animal abuse and the connection to domestic violence and criminal behavior. Since there are so many crimes and violence related to animal abuse, let's move on to the significant detriment of overall animal welfare. There are many types of animal abuse, including physical neglect, physical abuse, abandonment, hoarding, puppy mills, animal testing, and a lot more. When animals are mistreated in any of these ways, they sustain damage to their bodies that might eventually result in death. According to Alexander Harubin, writer with a degree in English literature and linguistics, whose sole purpose is to do research work, stated in 2020 article issued by Petpedia, every 60 seconds, one animal suffers abuse. Also, according to the same researcher, every year more than 10 million animals die from abuse alone in the US. These statistics really put into perspective how big of an issue this is. Raising awareness to this public is essential to prevent abuse to animals. One of the biggest issues that negatively affects animal welfare is the abandonment of animals. In 2022, according to Esperanza del Pilar Aruja Escobar, judge of the Court of Criminal Guarantees and Social Life, behaviors that are harmful to them are, however, valued, and acts like abandonment are accepted without always being seen as abuse. Many people don't see abandonment towards animals as abuse, but it puts them in a lot of danger. Many dogs who are abandoned are often left to starve and die from extreme heat or cold. Now that I have informed you about all these effects of animal abuse, I want to summarize the topics that I have discussed. Animal abuse has tremendous consequences for animals and people. It has lasting impacts on mental health. Animal abuse leads to greater crimes down the road and a significant detriment to overall animal welfare. The mental health effects from animal abuse are long lasting and can really bring people down. Many crimes that happen come from animal abuse from the start, and animal health is at risk from this cruelty. By being informed and educated about this violence, you can prevent the ongoing circle of animal abuse. Thank you.